How curious, when you describe that moment of the sort of the tectonic plates of your reality shifting as a result of the ascent of your first, sort of globally successful record, it made me think that whenever it made me curious about what your relationship with your gift has been. I think of the voice and people that are sort of gifted singers, that it's a kind of out of body ability. Where is the voice? It's a ghost in the body. It's a vibration. It's not actually in the body. There is no sort of, that where is it? What is it? This thing. And you have that sort of transcendent quality to your singing. When did you first experience it, and when did you first allow yourself to sort of fantasize that it might sort of take you on that kind of journey? And then what is it like when you feel, as you say, those doors opening and that world opening up with all of its challenges?
Yeah, I often think about this, like the emergence of a voice, what it is. And I have to go back to being an only child. And I think you're an only child. I'm still an only child. Are you still an only child?
I am. There can be only one.
Strange. It's, I'm sure that there must be some parallels in our experience of the singularity. And you feel the sense of singularity. And you spend long periods of time alone. And in that time, there is a sense of loneliness and isolation and kind of needing to actually access some kind of muse within you. And I had a singing voice for as long back as I can remember. My mother told me that I used to sing myself to sleep. And I just can't remember not singing. As a little girl, spending periods of time alone in the countryside with my grandparents, I would go outside to play, and I would actually sing and make up. I'd be in a musical, I'd be dancing. There were places where I could, I was so responsive to music. Music was always there, and I sang in choirs. There was a local music center. I was from a working class background, and I got into a posh school when I was very, very young. I passed a test, and I got into the school, and it was in the west end of town with the fancy big building, very intimidating. I had to wear a uniform, and they recognized that I had a musicality, let's say. And I started piano lessons, when I was 7, with an old-fashioned, strict piano teacher. It's like something from Roald Dahl. And memory. Also, we got to talk about memory, because that's the thing. Memory is like the narrative of your life, how you come into being, how this gift comes to you, and how on earth. I know about a little bit from listening to you that you've talked about discovering that when you performed in a school play, people reacted, and it felt like you knew where your direction was, right?
Yeah, that's right. I did, Annie. I felt like, this is sort of simultaneously, it's purpose, power, gift, transcendence, embodiment, and you don't really have the vocabulary or the framework to understand it, but where there was uncertainty, there is a kind of certainty. And I was thinking that when you've experienced moments such as the one you described there, about in sort of commercial terms and to a degree artistic terms, because of popularity surely means something, of experiencing a number one record, that it kind of must be like, oh wow, that thing, it's actually happened. And what I remember is that from being very sort of like, from doing that the first time I performed, feeling like, oh right, I'm not worthless, I've got this thing, I knew I had something, and then suddenly it was weaponized and engaged, to the point where it was like 15 years until it even became meaningfully monetizable, probably because of the mental health and drug addiction issues that were sort of accompanying it. And how And it does. There is a kind of mythic truth to it, that the gift comes from the wound, and the fulfillment of the gift is a kind of further wounding, a further separation. It feels like the gift is going to bring you home, but it takes you further away from home than you could ever imagine being.
It's incredible to hear you speak in these terms. And that is really one of the reasons why I enjoy listening to your program, because it has emotional intelligence and it has such depth, and you are able to articulate aspects of life experience that we don't often get to share. We don't get to discuss. I mean, you'll know this well, that process of exposure that we've just touched on. When you go to a radio station or a TV show and it's 8 o'clock in the morning and you have to be on, and there's bright lights, and you come on and you sit there, and there's somebody who's already got the slot to speak to you, but their eyes are shifting, and you're nervous because it's a live broadcast and you're not as experienced maybe as you could be or should be. And they're looking at you and the whole situation is bizarre, and you get that impulse to just run away. What would happen if I ran away? It's like when you stand on the edge, right, when the tube train is coming, and you think, whoa, what if I just like jumped in front of the train? You know, that those impulses, balconies. And so you're in a live broadcast, and it's so artificial.
One of my mentors said, sorry to interrupt you, dear Annie. One of my mentors said, never trust anyone that doesn't admit to those impulses, because it shows that you're in touch with your shadow. If someone gives you a baby and somewhere on your mind you think, I could just fucking throw this baby. It means that you're not, if you can't access that in yourself, then one day it may very well bite you. I speak to a lot of friends that have been through the entertainment industry, which is obviously changing as all things are, and I must say it makes me shudder, Annie, to think about sort of turning up on those couches at 8 a.m. in those lurid lights to essentially to promote some artifact. And like for me now, I suppose what my life has become about is a sort of an aligning, where I think like I'm only going to do things if I can make sense of them. And even when I do sort of projects, like collaborative projects, shall we say, that are artistically valid, I still feel I don't like being taken out of control of my life. I'm still very much like I was when I was a little boy, really, of just leave me alone and let me get on with what I'm doing. And it breaks my heart to think of you having to, even via Zoom, having to go on to, I don't know, Good Morning Britain or Good Morning Anywhere and, tell them why your record's good.
My experiences are so crazy, so surreal. I mean, you couldn't, like I said earlier, you couldn't make it up. And the thing is that sometimes you have to have, you always have to have the sense of composure, the preparation for performance. And I say you'll know this, but you and I have been through something together, which is waiting on the side, waiting all day, actually. Because the show that you're about to do is on at 9 o'clock. And let's say it's a concert. For me, I've done hundreds and hundreds of, maybe thousands, I think, of performances. And each one, back in the day, I would be absolutely terrified. I had an issue with stage fright. And it built to such a point that I always thought I'm going to have a panic attack on stage. Something, it just built. It was just so, it was too much. But that thing of preparation, then waiting. I would be like a fighter waiting to go onto the ring, because I'm feeling this pressure. It's all on you. You are the apex of the triangle. There's people are behind you, but you are the voice. You are the one that is facing it, outward facing. And there could be 10, 20, 50,000, who knows how many people there. And you have to kind of overcome this feeling of the schism within you, which is like, okay, I know what I have to do. I'm not going to forget the words. I'm gonna do this. You know, nothing's gonna go wrong. I mean, in everything that could possibly go wrong, I've experienced it. You know, like coming on and there's no mic, or it's going, and it's like a live broadcast on radio, and everything has clunked to a stop. It's like those nightmares that keep you, you know, those ones. It's Spinal Tap, you know, backstage, rock and roll. That's the truth.
I suppose the reason that performance occurs so frequently in people's nightmares, and as Jerry Seinfeld famously says, that, you know, most people are more afraid of public speaking than they are of death. And so most people, if they were at a funeral, they'd rather be in the casket than doing the eulogy. Jerry Seinfeld's joke. Like that in a way, when you're in that performance space, you are sort of, it's a very heightened place to be at, and it does make me respect people that are performers that can handle it, that can handle going into that space. And the only way, like, I recognize that fear. There were so many times when doing shows, particularly when I was doing things that I didn't feel like I was in control of, like hosting big award shows and things, where I felt like, I just don't want to do this. This is mental. And in a sense, there was a kind of authenticity to that. And particularly when you sort of talk about like the having to go on other people's shows, because we know that there are marketing and commercial imperatives that, in a sense, determine what these things are like. And the only way that I'm finding of managing it, even now, Annie, is to try to align with a purpose that I can stand to live with, like that I'm only going to do things in service of what I really believe in. And that could be as simple and as ordinary as I've got a wife and children, so I've got financial obligations, or it could be as, you know, esoteric as I think there is an opportunity for us to reach people and convey sublime truths that will help them to overcome the imprisonment of the ordinary.
This is so beautiful.